Welcome back, everybody. Derrick Sue, your East Oakland advocate. Well, today is another sad day in Oakland. Another restaurant icon is closing its doors in 2 days. Today's a Monday, and on Wednesday ends the month of January, the 31st, and Quinn's Lighthouse has announced that it will close its doors permanently. And not from a lack of business. That's the sad part. It's from the greed of the property owner. And I know a little bit about that particular subject because in the warehouse that I currently lease that I'm trying to buy, and the monthly rent is ridiculous. And for a restaurant, it would be even worse. And in some cases, I've heard restaurant rent $25,000 to $50,000 per month. I don't know about you. That's a lot of business that you got to do, and that's a tremendous amount of money going out of your pocket into the pocket of somebody else who does nothing to increase the value of the service, or in this case the food in the restaurant. He just is just a blood-sucking leech. And that's how I feel about most landlords, and my experience with landlords is not positive. And in fact, I worked for one of the largest property rental management companies, the third largest in the world at the time. And it was a real cutthroat business, and full of budgets and unrealistic budgets. And not only I really sympathize with Quinn's Lighthouse, because here it is. The landlord increased the rent. He increased the rent 35%. That is significant. Let's just say that the rent was $25,000 on the lower end. 35% increase. Let me get my calculator out. Let's take a look at that. So we have, let's say, $25,000 rent, then times a 35% increase. That's $8,750 increase per month for no reason, literally for no reason. And here's the kicker. That greedy ass landlord is also demanding that the business owner of Quinn's Lighthouse to repair and replace the roof of the business, the entire roof, to absorb the entire cost of the roof. That is something that is the responsibility of the landlord, not the business owner. But yet this greedy landlord is and that's not the worst part. Also, that landlord is demanding the replacement of the entire decking for Quinn's Lighthouse, all around all the decking, the stairway, the landing outside the door. That's the deck. That's probably going to be about $30,000-$40,000 just for the stairs and the landing. And then on top of that, to replace all the flooring inside the restaurant too. These are all things that are maintenance issues that the landlord is actually responsible for, unless for some reason he had it written into the contract that the business would take those burdens on. And those burdens should not be taken on by the business. That is the responsibility of the landlord. That's why you pay this outrageous amount of money to rent the building, and that's a significant amount of business that the Quinn's Lighthouse is giving up to the greedy landlord. And so anyway, the lighthouse, it's a historic lighthouse here for Oakland. It was originally built in 1890, and I'll tell you, I had a lot of really good memories from Quinn's Lighthouse, because most of you know that I was in the boating, the recreational boating industry, not so much working in it, but participating in it. I own 3 boats. Literally, I bought all 3 of my boats right around the corner from Quinn's Lighthouse on the Embarcadero, as there was a Sea Ray dealer, and then there were 2 pop-up dealers where their actual facility was up on the Delta, but they had pop-up dealership right here on the Embarcadero. That was for my Monterey, the 290 Monterey, which is actually a 30-foot boat, not a 29-foot. And then my 26-foot Maxim that was on a trailer. The other one, the 30-footer, was a twin engine. It was 10 feet wide, so it was, if I were to get a trailer, the trailer itself would have been about $15,000, because it had to be a triple axle. It was an over wide trailer, because the width of the boat is 10 feet, and so I would be daylight towing only, and I would have to put a wide load flag on the back end of that boat. But Quinn's Lighthouse, I would go around the corner. My wife and I would go around the corner, have lunch over at Quinn's. They even at the time had some dockage for boat owners to come pull up their boat and eat at Quinn's Lighthouse. Excuse me. Also, back in the day, when you went to the bar, this goes back into the 80s. I would go there, and in fact, I started going there with my first wife, well before my second wife, and you'd get a basket full of peanuts on the way in, and that would be your your snacks until your bar drinks arrived. And so, and a nice thing, and you would hear yourself walking to an empty seat or walking around, because the floor, the bar upstairs, was full of peanut shells. Everywhere you walked, you crunched. And so that was one of the fun characteristics of Quinn's Lighthouse. And one of the few places back then that actually did that. I think also Shenanigans did that for a short time. Currently, I don't know. I haven't been to Texas Roadhouse in the last 5 years, so I don't know if they still give you a big basket of peanut, or actually a bucket of peanuts, and then you just wipe the peanut shells onto the floor there at Texas Roadhouse. So that's also one of the characteristics of a fun, relaxed atmosphere type restaurant bar, and that was Quinn's. And so one of my favorite dishes at there was their appetizer on Friday night. It was their clam chowder, and so it was made fresh. It's not from the can. You can tell fresh from a can, and so this was always made fresh on Fridays. And it's expensive. Back in the day, it wasn't so expensive. Back then, it was like $2.50, $3.50 for a cup, and then $5.50 for a bowl. So, as far as clam chowder wise, that is somewhat expensive. But today's prices, because the last time I bought from Quinn's, the cup. The little cup was $8. A bowl, a bowl of clam chowder was $22. So I typically ordered the bowl of clam chowder, which is almost a meal by itself. And then I would get my other favorite that I liked from Quinn's was their fish and chips. And also one of the things that was unique about Quinn's, they still had a captain's platter on their menu. One of very few uh, seafood restaurants here in the Bay Area that actually still had a captain's platter on the menu, because captain's platters all kind of went away during the 90s, and that was a real big 70s 80s things, because that was one of the dishes that was their top dishes. And so you put a lot of effort. You put clams, all sorts of shellfish, seafood on that captain's platter. And back in the day, a captain's platter could be as low as $9.95. We're talking 70s prices, so $9.95 in the 70s was kind of like $24, $25 today. But then the captain's platter today is $40. And if you were to get the steak, the surf and turf at Quinn's Lighthouse, you're pushing $60 right there. So well out of my budget these days. I can't afford to eat there, but as a treat, if I save up for it, then yes, I go. And I really enjoy Quinn's Lighthouse. They have a great atmosphere. Again, it brings back a lot of great memories of my boating days here in Oakland and right on the estuary, where my wife and we would drive our 26-footer to all the different restaurants that used to line the Oakland estuary, and park our boat right outside and go inside the restaurant and eat. And it was always a lot of fun, because the patrons inside the restaurants would always ask questions about the boat and if you did a good job of parking it, because there's sometimes when you see a pretty good crash into the dock. That I have a lot of experience piloting and driving boats, so that never happened. And same thing with my wife. She was an excellent boat pilot, and she knew everything about boating because she grew up in Wisconsin boating. She was part of a boating family, so boating came naturally to her. And so we were quite the team, and we were very well known here around the Oakland estuary. But again, this Wednesday, January 31st, to 2024, the final closure of Quinn's Lighthouse, a longtime restaurant seafood icon here in Oakland. Thanks for joining me today. We'll be right back.